Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to RLCS Overtime, your one-stop shop for all things Rocket League eSports and RLCS. I'm your host, Wave Funk. I got a findable carpet, a Gibbs, and a Lawler. No Quinn this week, but you know what? We got the daddy of Rocket League, the original dad of Rocket League.
Yeah, now I'm just the second favorite dad.
Overthrown.
It's very upsetting.
Now, this is your Game of Thrones joke. Your bad one last weekend.
But now I got backstabbed. Like, I was the one who actually got poisoned. That's the plot twist here.
I mean, I don't remember ever seeing you score a backwards goal on a professional stage.
I didn't score many, so.
Yeah. No, we can talk about him in a little bit, but right now, this past weekend was the last of the Brisk Summer Series. Had two in North America. This was the last one. Was also North America. Was quite an amazing run. Fantastic stuff happened the entire tournament. Take a look at the bracket and how it all panned out. Best of sevens, game 7, so many overtimes happened here, but only one of the best of 5s in the quarterfinals going all the distance of 5 games there, Equinox versus Fibian.
But Hollywood Hammers versus Rogue, 4 games, 4 overtimes in a row. We've never seen that before until later on in the bracket, but that was a series to watch.
Yeah, it seemed destined though. You look at both sides, G2 and NRG on the opposite ends, looking to give us that rematch in the end. And they started off so strong, 3-0s for every single side coming in. But those semifinals were like a whole different story for us.
Yeah, no, the quarterfinals, Hollywood Hammers versus Rogue. I think Rogue was definitely the favorite here. Hollywood Hammers, a new name in Rocket League. Some familiar faces on that team, but everyone expected the American sweethearts of Rogue to be able to move forward here. But no, they get knocked out in 4 games. And they're just out of the tournament at that point. Hollywood Hammers will go 7 games against G2 eSports, and it was quite the surprising showing there from Hollywood Hammers.
I found that every time I saw one of these new teams, or I guess one of the kind of newer rosters, Equinox, Fibian, Hollywood Hammers, every series I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good team to watch. Yeah. And then I did it again. I'm like, oh, this is also gonna be a good team to watch. And I caught myself just being a broken record. But I really just the level of competition brought to even by rosters that were just trying to figure it out before the last day of signups were still pretty high. Give them another month of practice to see how they do in qualifiers. It's going to be pretty nuts.
I mean, that was the ridiculous part, though, too, is like the game started off really one-sided. We're like, okay, the expected team's going to win in like a 3-4-0. Just kidding. We almost have a reverse sweep, and never mind, it's back to normal. So the games weren't like telegraphed in that sense. They led at a very beginning, early start for the heavier teams, the teams that were favored to win, but then they inched back and made it close. So it was really exciting. Go back and watch them. They were good.
Yeah, well, now, as we get into talking about reverse sweeps and the possibility of the first semifinal, G2 versus Hollywood Hammers, this one was absolutely crazy as G2 begins the first 3 games cleanly getting the victories, and then Hollywood Hammers bounces back 3 games themselves and sends us to decisive game 7 where G2 finally was able to clinch it out. But what a back and forth. It looked like Hollywood Hammers was going to give us our first best of 7 reverse sweep.
So we saw G2, I was saying before the series, they look like a top 3 team right now. And Hollywood Hammers, they look solid, but they have time to grow. Well, they didn't need much time. They needed 3 games, and then they battled back 4, 5, and 6. Darkfire looking like season 1 Darkfire, just going absolutely nuts.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Darkfire did retire, quote unquote, for like a week, and then figured out that family situations allowed him to get back in. So he has been grinding, but in previous tournaments earlier in the week, we had discussions. Is he going to be able to come back to his original performance? Took him a little bit to warm up again, but anytime he shows, whether it be offense or defense, as long as he's involved, the team stands a chance. So really excited to watch them going forward.
Darkfire is going to be, I think, the not-so-dark horse this season. I mean, just seeing how well he can perform. It's been so long, I know. I love dark horses. I'm a big fan of dark horses.
His name, I don't understand it.
Darkfire.
Yeah.
It's ironic.
Yeah, and
it's
he
like
uses,
fire's
he
not
uses
dark.
the titanium white sparkle boost, which is the least dark of the fiery boosts. So.
To be fair, player names in Rocket League are just weird in general, so I feel like...
What? Findable Carpet's a normal name.
Jacob.
Exactly. Findable Carpet.
Jacob.
Jacob's
Quinn
better.
Lobdell. Yeah.
Quinn.
Quinn Lobdell.
The best part is it's not even his name,
Yeah.
but they're just like, we're going to use it as his name for everything.
No, G2 comes out with the victory here, but Hollywood Hammers making the case that they are definitely a roster to be looking out for as we move into Season 4 and into the qualifiers. But on the other side of the bracket, NRG versus Equinox. Equinox barely eking it out past Fibian, the former Applesauce roster, and then NRG here also had their hands full with Sad Jr.'s new team here. Going the full distance of 7 games again.
Yeah, for those that don't know as well, this Fibian team was also known as Spectrum a while back before they were Applesauce. They took 9th place in one of the qualifiers, so they're just short of a top 8 RLCS spot. So a team that's been on that brink every once in a while, but it just shows NRG, even with the sub, are still just disgusting.
And honestly, their sub didn't have to do a lot this series, and that's what I was worried about going into the finals. Nose Dude, who turned into Nose God by the end of it, he looked like a normal average dude during the series. Didn't really do anything, only participating in 3 of 14 goals. Garrett with the hard carry participating in 12 of 14. So we saw a lot of solo plays come out of Garrett, like one right here, and as well as Jacob. And this team looks so solid once Fireburner is back.
Yeah, I think the thing you alluded to it here, just to be very clear for anyone who didn't watch, Fireburner was not playing. Dude with the Nose fills in, and we saw Dude with the Nose have a fantastic breakout performance at DreamHack Atlanta, but this was the next big opportunity we had seen since then. At DreamHack Atlanta, he was playing with the Renegades roster, and they knocked out some of the big names and had a decent chance. I think they made it into the top 8, but didn't make it past the top 8. Here, playing in place of Fireburner, has a fantastic performance. Especially the first match, he looked great. The second match, he didn't have to do too much. In the finals, he definitely shows up in a big way. And thoughts about Dude with the Nose and his future in Rocket League right now, as he's playing very, very well on this NRG roster, filling in the shoes of Fireburner easily right now.
Yeah, this has been a great month for him. He comes into DreamHack and everyone's thinking, oh, it's Renegades, but it's not really. They have 2 subs and they outperform like crazy. And then like NRG's like, we want you as a sub because you look great. Then he shows up in 2 different tournaments for them and plays really well. So he's got a good spot there with Energy, and that's not a bad team to learn from. The best in North America.
I mean, he played at the CyberPower PC in replace of Jacob as well the day before, or 2 days before on Friday. So he's been getting this performance. And to not only come in as a sub, usually when we see subs play, they're kind of like that guy just sits in back and lets the other 2 teammates. He was actually actively involved. And for him to have that kind of performance, it just increases his value even more. So maybe he doesn't stay a sub, maybe he does. Either way, Energy's got a good pickup.
I think he needs to use this opportunity to kind of take advantage of the situation that he's in. I mean, being kind of buddy-buddy with NRG, you know, at most of the times the best North American team, it's a great opportunity to just like maybe try and get in more tournaments that they really can't do and just like steal one of them for like a 2s tournament, steal 2 of them for a 3s tournament, and like kind of make sure that you are like try and make yourself useful as a sub, make them do more things so that you can utilize yourself. And I think just the experience alone from competing with those guys, like they're so clean, and I'm sure everyone notices it. If you play with people that are better, you inherently will probably play better because you're gonna it's more obvious to see like, oh, I should be here because these 2 guys are very obviously making choices on purpose. Like that guy's going for that, he's going for this. I should probably be in this big empty spot.
Yeah,
ready for defense.
It instills best practices in your gameplay. When you're learning from the best and you see, okay, I am able to cheat up. I don't have to rotate back because I trust Garrett to hit the ball back up to me. It just makes you a better player all around.
You know, the quality of how well you can play is partially dictated by the people you're playing with. And when he's playing at the top level, Dude with the Nose has the opportunity to show that he can play with those guys. Really showed up in a big way here and gets them all the way into the finals. So our finals are set again, G2 versus NRG. This is a rematch of the first Brisk Summer Series where G2 came out and completely swept NRG, but this one, completely different story here. G2 would win game 2, and other than that, it was all NRG.
And again, games 1 through 4, every single one goes to overtime. We had some disconnect issues with Dude with the Nose as well, which is strange because it seems like every time G2 and Energy play, someone gets disconnected. We saw Kronovi, like it usually happens to G2, and then they're really salty about it on Twitter, like, why can't we get like a legitimate series? And then Energy's like, well, we can do it too, but we can actually beat you while we disconnect. They basically played a 2v3 overtime. Nose Dude comes back. He scores 2 overtime goals in a row.
Yes.
Then in game 5, he scores with 10 seconds left. He had a great series.
There's a lot of controversy going on as to like what happened with G2. You can see it all over Twitter, all over Reddit, everyone trying to say, you know, Kronovi sometimes falls back into the quote-unquote ball chase. It's not, I don't like using the phrase ball chase because it makes it seem a lot more negative, but it's like he wants to do more for his team because he knows he's capable of it, but he doesn't realize sometimes in the moment how negatively that can affect his team. So it just seemed as that series went on and they got closer and closer to being kicked out, every game that NRG put up, that just seemed to be the situation. I'd like to look back and get a little more in depth to truly know what was going on decision making. But NRG played clean, especially with the sub. It was impressive.
Yeah, no, I thought when they were respecting their rotations, when G2 was really rotating on the defense, they were playing very, very well. And the thing that Kronovi, people always call him ball chasing. I agree with you. I don't think it's ball chasing as much as it's just maybe cutting in the rotation, deciding like, let's transition this to a 2-man offensive instead of the 3-man offensive, not falling back. He picks up the enemy's boost and then rotates back into the mid or something. And the thing is, I felt like he was zoning out Rizzo a lot, and Rizzo just did not have the opportunities to play as well as he wanted to. And there was plenty of instances when I saw him just lurking at the midfield, not really sure what to do. And to me, that was why G2 really struggled here against NRG.
The best time that G2 looked was simply when Rizzo had time to make decisions. He may have been the last guy back on defense, but the ability to, okay, I'm going to challenge this guy. No, I'm going to back off a little bit, buy a little bit more time, and then challenge. When he had those opportunities and someone wasn't cutting in, it allowed his other teammates to get behind him and then transition back upfield. just simply having those options and not being pigeonholed by two people committing for the same thing, and now they're both out of position was part of the problem. I understand that Kronovi feels he can do more, but it's a domino effect playstyle that they play. He needs to be able to rely on his teammates to do their job.
And this whole summer and also last season, like this is exactly what G2 is. Very inconsistent. They'll look so strong, so comfortable in the quarterfinals, and halfway through the semifinals, 3-0, super comfortable. Then they start having these nervous moments where Kronovi will over-rotate or Rizzo will make a bad challenge. And this is exactly what we've been seeing from G2, just inconsistency. So coming into the qualifiers, they have to figure that out because they need a perfect day to make it in.
And you were saying this a lot on the weekend when Kronovi was rotating. You saw he's making selfless plays and they were winning. They were playing very well when he was really playing with the team and going for the backboard passes and then falling back, and they were able to play well there. When he was cutting at that midfield, it was making problems. But I don't honestly, with the plays we were seeing him make early on, I can't like look at Kronovi and be like Kronovi's the problem on this roster.
No.
I felt like Rizzo was quiet, and part of that is, I mean, it's part of his job to speak up and tell, hey, Kronovi, fall back, let me be a part of this team here. And to move the conversation back to NRG, the team who actually won the whole thing, dude with the nose, we heard earlier this week, Maestro getting dropped from Envious for Greasy Meister, a duo that we've talked about many times on this desk, on this show, about like when will Maestro and Remco break up? It'll never happen. They're an amazing duo, completely split now. Fireburner and Jacob's another dude we talk about a lot. I don't think it'll happen, but you guys, any of you think there's a chance the dude with the nose is going to be the starter here for NRG?
Come on, Wave. No. There is absolutely no chance. They are the best in North America. They're looking like the best again. I feel like they have a lot of competition, though, versus Cloud9 and with G2 as well, because they did sweep them earlier on. So there's going to be a lot of competition, but no one has to worry on that.
I mean, the beauty of that, too, is if those two are playing each other at the top level over and over again, they're both going to get better, too. So.
Yeah. So we'll see how that moves forward. Great to see that there's another great face there on the NRG lineup. Take a look at who won all of these summer series. Just going to look back at how the Brisk has been. It's been a great summer. G2 did win that first one 4-0 over NRG. It was crazy. Gale Force taking out Envious. Envious still looking to chase down Gale Force here for a victory. And NRG going to win the most recent one.
And once again, the Summer of North America, they won 2 out of 3, guys.
Hey.
Look at this. They're looking so
trying to
good.
create enemies over here, aren't you, bud?
Let's not talk about the fact that Europe wasn't allowed to compete in those two.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure.
I'm not going to read chat during this part. I don't know if I want to.
But Gale Force, they did win something. They've come in second in most tournaments that they've participated in, but online, they did win that one. So they're looking like one of those teams that is a world championship contender for like a grand finals performance.
Against Envious, still looking for that victory. Envious over Gale Force. Guys, it's going to be a great show of overtime. We've got Torment from Cloud9 to talk to. We'll be looking at some history. We'll play the 50-50 again. We're going to have a lot of good stuff here. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be a great show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to RLCS Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a good show so far, and it's just getting started. On the line from Cloud9, the newest cool roster in town here. Torment's on the line. Bud, how you doing?
Doing good.
Fantastic. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. I always like to ask this question for everyone who comes on to Overtime for the first time. Talk to me about how you got into Rocket League, bud.
Well, I started off as like a casual game. You know, I was just playing with friends at the beginning when it first came out. Kind of just messing around. I wasn't really good. Eventually, I heard about tournaments and there was money and prizes, so I got more into it. Eventually, found like teams and started playing more. RLCS came and entered that. I think I made the first season, and from there, I was like, wow, I could just keep going with this, I guess, and see where it goes. So here I am.
Yeah, for sure. You've been a name that we've always known about here since the beginning of RLCS. And was Rocket League your beginning in esports? Like, talk to me about your background in esports before Rocket League.
I played some competitive Call of Duty, I guess, with friends, mostly for that too. Other than that, I kind of like checked it out here and there. Didn't really, compete seriously in anything until Rocket League. So this is like my first experience with it big time.
That's really, really cool, man. And you've had some teams before the team you're on now. You talked a bit about your story of how you got into Rocket League, your path so far. Talk to me about meeting up with the Muffin Men. How did you meet up with Squishy and Gimmick?
Well, I've known them for a while. I played with them like over a year ago, actually. Eventually, we teamed. It was me, Squishy, and Oceania, and Gimmick was our sub. When Latch took a break, we actually subbed Gimmick in then, so that was kind of when we first formed. And yeah, eventually we just had a bunch of good results, and we decided to stick with Gimmick and kept going with them. So that's basically how it happened.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, the breakout moment for you guys, as everybody knows, was at DreamHack Atlanta, which DreamHack Atlanta was considered by many people to be like the most stacked tournament, like non-RLCS LAN tournament to date. And knowing that you were going up against like that level of competition, what was it like for you guys? Like, talk me through your expectation, your mentality of going into DreamHack Atlanta, knowing this competition was going to be so stiff.
We were at least hoping to get top 8. I think we were seeded like 7th, so a top 8 finish was definitely like our minimum expectation. Everything after that was kind of just a plus. And, you know, we didn't know, it was like looked really hard. Like that bracket seemed like almost impossible, but when we actually started playing, we were actually doing pretty well. So I don't know. I mean, just at least top 8, and from there we were just gonna take it as a plus.
Yeah, for sure. Coming out, having this breakout performance. I mean, not many people can say that their first LAN was a win, you know? Like, how did it feel to win the first LAN you played at?
It felt really good winning DreamHack, definitely. It was unreal, honestly. Like, didn't know how to react at first. And, yeah, it was just crazy, especially as our first LAN together, so yeah.
Yeah, how was the DreamHack experience overall? Like, was there anything outside of the Rocket League you got to go and do?
I checked out some of the other esports that were at DreamHack. It was pretty cool to see some of those teams live. I didn't really check anything else out there exactly, except for just playing. I was really focused on playing and doing well, so yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, you guys coming out there with the victory, hoisting the trophy at the end was amazing to see you get the victory, and it was so cool, especially because the crowd was so behind you guys. They were so loud, you know. I mean, there were some other big crowds, but they were at the end. It felt like all the other esports crowds were coming over to watch you guys play and cheer you guys on. So you win there. You were the Muffin Men, and then very, very quickly picked up by Cloud9. One of the biggest pickups we've seen in RLCS or Rocket League esports to date. You know, how has it been being on? How's the Cloud9 life been treating you? How's it been being with this org?
It's been crazy. They were always like an org that I looked up to in other games, and I always enjoyed like watching their teams and stuff, like CS:GO especially. And you know, it was just pretty cool actually. They're really good to work with, and I look forward to working with them longer. Also, their jerseys are pretty sick, to be honest.
I'm not going to lie. I know that they have made so many fans, including myself, just because they have such a great logo and such cool colors and everything.
Yeah.
I love their jerseys. And you guys, you won at DreamHack. You won your rival week match here a little bit in the back. You've already qualified for the Universal Open. And, like, you guys are on such a hot streak right now. How are you? Many people consider you the best team in North America. How are you handling this attention and expectation at the moment?
I've always liked to like think of myself and our team as like kind of an underdog. It usually helps with like nerves and like, you know, just respecting your opponents more and taking them more seriously. It usually helps me, and especially since they're all good teams and like any top 8 team can like play as the best team on any given day, I think. So usually if you just think like that, it kind of helps a lot.
Yeah, but a lot of people right now are looking at you guys and saying, like, you're no longer the underdogs. You're the team at the top. And, does it change the way you look at the scene right now? Because you usually, with your underdog, you're like, oh, we just gotta climb up and beat these teams. And now you're looking down at a lot of people. Is that factored in at all to your mindset right now?
A little bit. Obviously, you don't want to lose when people think you're the best, because they kind of think you're not as good, I guess. But I don't know. I'm just going out to play and hoping to win at least. That's pretty much it, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're keeping your mindset grounded, always continuing to view your team the same way, and just hoping you can continue to have the success. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Just wanted a fun question. If you can't play a meta car in Rocket League, what car are you going with right now?
I'd probably go with Gizmo, I think.
Oh, yeah.
After thinking about it. It seems like it'd be a pretty fun car to use and dribble with. If I couldn't use anything else, like usually Octane's my car, but I think Gizmo would be pretty fun.
Oh man, I would love to see a Gizmo on the stage. And hey, with sanitization of hitboxes, anything can happen now. Anyways, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Any shout outs you got before I let you go, man?
Yeah, definitely. First off, shout out to my teammates, Squishy and Gimmick, and also our org, Cloud9. Obviously, we talked about that already. And also shout out to my parents. They're both really supportive of this, and they've actually both now gone to events and watched, and they really enjoyed it. And last shout out to Chrome. He told me to shout him out, so shout out to Rob G.
Well, there you go. Chrome getting a shout out. Great to see the parents for support and everything else. Dude, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. Good luck with Cloud9 and the rest of your Rocket League career.
Thank you.
Fantastic stuff there from Torment. Guys, it's been just a great show so far. Just getting started. Got some more stuff coming up here. We'll have more of Overtime when we come back. Welcome back to RLCS Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. Been a great show so far. I think I've said that too many times. I said it a bunch.
But it is a great show.
You're not lying. You're just repetitive.
I'm just, it's just you.
It's not your fault that we're always great.
So far. It's not my fault that they're always great. Why would it be a fault? I don't understand anything. Supersonic look back, guys. This week marks the 1-year anniversary of the Season 1 LAN, which is still, in my books, one of the most magical things that's ever happened in my life. Was absolutely surreal in many ways. Am I alone on this?
No, that was
right. Okay, yes.
It was absolutely amazing, and then to see like a team like Cosmic win the whole thing, where Kronovi was the best player in the world from the very start. Then he had some trouble, and then they still win it. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Script, all according to script. Killed it.
Yeah, it was also our first time in front of a live audience, which is just something you really can't put into words.
That
like
energy.
Like the first time, because I think I was on the first match, and when it cut to our live camera, and you just heard an audience start to cheer just because they knew, like it was the first time kind of seeing us in a live setting, and also they knew the game was going to start soon. It was just one of those like, Like you get like the
It was
shivers.
all because the game was going to start soon.
Well, and like we were seated up in a box, and the crowd's right here. And when the goals would happen, we'd feel the subwoofer from this side, and we'd feel the crowd from this side, and it was just like energy. You know, it was this amazing experience to be there live. But we had some great matches. We want to look back. What's funny about energy?
I don't know, just like sandwich, like energy. Yeah,
right
like
there.
that was your special move. You just shout
NRG. They weren't
energy.
even a team at the time. Kings of Urban. They were under that name, their community name. Still the best community name.
I still love Kings of Urban, yeah.
Speaking of Kings of Urban, we want to take a look at some of the matches that we saw from season 1. Just go back, just kind of reminisce on some cool things that happened. NRG, no, not NRG, dang it, I just said that they were the Kings of Urban. Kings of Urban versus Genesis. This was the last match of league play, and so many implications. If this game went like every different variation, because we were playing series of 5s back in season 1.
Yep.
So they were going to play 5 games. Every variation on how that game could have gone saw a different seeding and different teams. So it was Genesis, Kings of Urban, and Maka NA who were trying to make it in. And only 2 of those teams could make it into the playoffs, and then the other team would not have any chance of making it to the LAN. So every variant of how the match could go would see 2 different teams in a different order making it in. It was pretty crazy. We could take a look at a recap of how it all went down. It was pretty crazy.
I've never seen a matchup mean so much for so many teams. It's not just these two. There are 2 teams waiting to see how this goes.
We've been saying the entire group stage that
He's into it,
every
man.
game matters, and it all comes down to this one. We're keeping the pressure on.
And those tiebreakers, to be fair, were very nerve-wracking to have. So I was like, wait a minute, I think Maki can make it in 5 different variations of the 6. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that one variation happened where Genesis wins 3-2, and it gets both them and Kings of Urban into the playoffs. And that was with Kings of Urban as the 4 seed. So they went into the playoffs as the 4 seed and wound up winning the whole thing, obviously. So it was a crazy series. And honestly, like, we know it's bad Rocket League when Quinn Lobdell was on the field.
Gosh.
I mean, it's funny, you go back and watch
that one out.
If you go back and watch the season 1 games, like, it's a significantly different Rocket League than we see right now. The meta has changed so much, but just these last games here were so crazy as they're able to find the win. Genesis, nobody expected them to get the win over Kings of Urban, but they actually managed to get the win, which pushes them in. And it was crazy at the end. I remember just like we both had like a sigh of relief. Like, they're both going to make it to Hollywood. Sorry for Maka and NA who didn't get to play, but the 2 teams that controlled their fate made it through. And it was pretty crazy to watch.
It showed throughout the entire series too. Like these guys really battled it out. It was back and forth the entire time. It came down to the last second. Like, and for both of them to be like, you know, we fought it out hard. We both get to go in. Like it was like a cool way to congratulate them.
And I think like us when we were casting this series of 5, it was interesting because a lot of times once the 3 wins had happened, the last 2 wins we even watched teams kind of just not really try as much.
Sure.
People weren't used to the series of 5 or like playing the entire full series as opposed to a best of. So this was even like it was so cool to watch a team fight for every single game because it really did matter. The seeding changed every result from 4-1 to 3-2 to the 2-3 on the other side and then the 4-1 on the other side. Like they all did different seedings. It was so cool.
Yeah, and the series went back and forth. Like Kings of Urban takes game 1, Genesis takes game 2, Kings of Urban takes game 3, Genesis takes game 4. So we're like, we still don't know what's going to happen
Super
until
nerve-wracking,
game
too.
5 when Genesis finally was able to win 2 back-to-back.
And plus, that was a huge upset. Like Kings of Urban, sure, they didn't play that great throughout that season, but everyone knew that they were a top team, and they showed it in the playoffs. So Genesis just coming out and beating Kings of Urban was a huge deal as well. And honestly, a lot of people thought Genesis was one of those borderline teams that probably shouldn't have made it, but they came in 4th in both seasons and made it to LAN, and then they had some magic there as well.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. They got the reverse sweep over Maka, one of the first reverse sweeps we ever saw. So they actually placed better than Kings of Urban did, who had a very, very rough first LAN. Very rough first 2 LANs, honestly, for Jacob and company. But the first LAN was characterized by iBuyPower, Cosmic, and Kernovi. We talked about the finals were iBuyPower versus Flipside, the titans of their respective regions. We could not have asked for a better finals. And the fact that it was in North America meant we could not ask for a better team to win. But the match that was most interesting, the finals were really interesting, but I think the thing that was the coolest moment, the most iconic moment of season 1, and one of the most iconic moments of RLCS in general was iBuyPower Flipside in the winner's bracket early on. We can see how that match went down. It was absolutely one for the books.
Flipside Tactics, iBuyPower Cosmic. This is the clash of the titans we've all been waiting for.
I think
Oh
for
my
me,
goodness, Lord.
yeah, for
Could
me,
you be
I think
more
the biggest thing about this series was the implications that were coming in. So you talk about with, okay, this iBuyPower team just lost Gambit. Gambit stepped out. He's pretty much what made them look so strong in the first quarter. They come in quarter 2, aren't really having that good a performance because of the way the points matched up in
They didn't
season
even
1.
make it into the playoffs.
Yeah. So their points carried them through, and we all came in and were like, okay, they haven't really had any strong performances. EU is a really heavy favorite, let alone being Flipside being the favorite by far. And then they come out and pull this. A game that go back and
360
forth.
no scope there from Kronovi.
Yeah, like it was nuts. There was so many like individual highlight plays. There was moments. The crowd was really loud. Like people like Lichinio just showing how strong he really was with like crazy redux. Like Kronovi sat back on defense. And was just like,
this was the best moment of season 1.
He's carrying it. Kronovi, they get one of them.
I will never
They stay alive. We go to game 5.
It's never gonna happen.
Legitimately, I go back to that moment. I'm like, man, how can I sound that excited again? Like that was just so genuine, you know. It was a really, really good moment. And then here at the end,
They're down 1-0 with 14 seconds left, and they come back to win it. It just seemed like
they win it in
miracle.
regulation too. They scored 2 goals in 14 seconds.
Yeah, it just there was something about that game that was just like, this is Rocket League esports. Like it felt so real at that moment. It was a big turning point. Like everybody knew, like this is why people watch this game. It's so exciting. It just felt like a perfect culmination after everything we went through the entire season to have EU and NA fighting for each other in the winners bracket. Who goes on? Like we have an underdog. We have a sub, which is now an ongoing theme, I guess. Like.
Especially at LAN, 2 of the 3 World Championship teams have played with a sub instead of their full starting roster. It's pretty crazy to look back at those things and think that was just a year ago. It feels like a long time ago because we do 2 seasons in one year. But man, what a game that one was! And to see the North Americans come out as they were the underdogs on North American soil, and it is like when you're in North America, the crowd's more cheering for North America, of course, because they want to see their hometown crowd win. So it was really just an amazing experience.
It was a lot of fun, especially because up until then, like Kronovi and whoever he was playing with were just kind of number 1 for so long, up until like the RLCS happened, and then something kind of triggered. He paired up with Gambit. At the time, Gambit was nuts.
It was the all-star roster of him, Lichinio, and Gambit.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like, well, what do you do against this? This isn't even fair. It's like a team that has too much money and just buys up all the best, best people.
Crow dropped
the New York Yankees
the dead
Rocket
weight,
League.
basically. He just dropped that dead weight of Sad Jr., obviously, not me. but like for him in that dream team, and they look like it throughout that whole first qualifier, but then Gambit had his issues. They bring it over 0, and they come in 5th, so no playoffs. So they drop all the way down to 3rd seed, and then everyone's like, oh, they're playing Flipside, it's over.
Yeah.
And then that's the only team that's ever had a perfect LAN.
Yeah.
They won all their series, didn't go into lowers at all, so it was insane.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting that it's been like just the way that series, if you were confused, if you did not watch season 1, we played 2 different like stages of the regular season. You earned points in both of them. And so they had done so well with Gambit in the first one that they had enough points to carry them through, even though they didn't make it into the playoffs of the second one. And that's why they were able to make it through, in case you're confused of why they were able to make it into the LAN without making it into the playoffs. It's worked different back then. But guys, other series that just throughout the history of Rocket League, maybe not season 1, maybe season 2.
Well, I got one from season 1.
Yeah.
It's called Supersonic History. Supersonic Avengers.
Ah.
They went into the playoffs. And they were the only team, because of the point system between the 2 regions, that had a chance to make it to the World Championships based on their performance. But they had to win the whole thing. And of course, they have to play Flipside. So they go, and like, that's not an easy match at all. And honestly, game 1, they get destroyed. 6 goals to 1. So Flipside's like, all right.
Cool.
Nice and easy. Doomsy's probably crying in the corner. They battle back. They go up 3-2, and then Cooksier. They went 8-0 in Game 6, and Cooksier scores 7 goals. We have never seen more than 5 goals in a game, and that's even to now. So
By a single player?
Yeah, by a single player. So he scored 7 goals, but then Supersonic Avengers, it was the dream, and they won it. Unfortunately, they had to play Northern right after. The 2 giants of Europe, so they didn't make it in, but it made it really exciting.
They came out 5 points short of making it into the playoffs or into the LAN. It was absolutely nuts. I was the only one who actually predicted Supersonic Avengers would be.
Of course, you'd remember
that is true.
Of course, you'd remember that. A year later.
But it's still my favorite
He's been waiting
selfie.
until this moment for that.
And that was the first of many times Doomsy will break our hearts.
Oh yes.
That was the beginning of his.
But I was so happy because then I met Vogan and I took a selfie with him, and it had the other 2 Flying Dutchmen behind me. And all I did was just at Doomsy and just sent it. It's still my favorite tweet. It still is.
Why are you such a mean man?
I love Doomsy. He knows it's a joke. He might have cried a bit.
It's the reverse sweeps that are the really iconic ones for me. The Makeda Aces reverse sweeping Orbit in season 2 LAN in Amsterdam.
That was nuts.
That was amazing. Just the way that it was so close, and then like at the 0-second goal, Moses clears it away, and it's like, okay, the ball's rotating back around the field. There's no chance, and somehow Makeda Aces pops it back in the middle. They take the shot. We go to overtime. time.
That's the moment I don't think I'll ever sound that cool again.
Yeah, right.
You hear me on that, and I'm losing my mind.
And
that
that
was
never
nuts.
looked that cool. That picture of Axel
Pesci?
and Gibbs on
Oh,
the,
yeah,
on the
that
desk.
was
It's
too.
like, oh, we're
Yeah.
all losing our minds
Yeah.
collectively.
And that was when Europe was like, hey, we are the dominant region, sweeping the entire first round as well.
Yeah.
So
I think they go way back in history. My favorite moment is probably shot around the world.
Yeah,
But I
yes.
think
You were in that game.
Yeah, Gibbs lost in that game, didn't he?
I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it was really funny. We were like 60-0 at that point in best of series, so we've never lost.
No big deal.
And then it's on MLG. It's the first like big tournament that's streamed. And honestly, like as soon as that went in, me, Crow, and Sad are like, that's exactly how we wanted to lose. That's the perfect way to lose. So we were really happy. We obviously would have preferred to win, but it was a cool way to go out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's around the time people really started to see how fun, close, competitive Rocket League could be. Like getting that true the sports feel of like this is like
that first like 0-second rule.
Yeah,
too.
when you're watching the clock like count down and you're like getting so excited. You know, one goal can happen at any given time so long as it doesn't touch the ground. It was such an amazing moment. And like, you know, I don't know, like, we haven't seen him in a long time, but Cal Mask was the one that made that goal on you guys. On the OG KOU.
Yeah, with Fireburner still.
Yeah.
And Gambit. So there's been a lot of roster swaps since then. But.
Which, I mean, and for anyone who has not been around since then, who's just joined us in the recent seasons of RLCS, this was the first huge tournament, as you said, and it was a 0-second goal casted by Puckett and Benson, the MLG casters. And it was my favorite part was like the ball gets cleared at like 5 seconds and Puckett's like, oh, that's it. And Benson's like, I don't know, that ball's up in the air, 3, 2, and he's counting it down. And then it wraps around and he puts in a buzzer beater and KOU wins. And they lose their minds. And I remember watching it live and being like, huh, this could absolutely be an esport. And I feel like that's what made it the shot heard around the world, is everyone was like, wow, that was amazing. And if I could see more moments like that, this would be incredible.
Yeah, for sure. Like I saw fans from both lands were like, that's how I got into Rocket League. Like that's how I started watching because of just how epic it was.
Yeah, absolutely. But guys, been fantastic stuff. Always love going back and looking at the history of Rocket League. Everything it's just so much fun. We could sit here and talk about this all day, but we got more stuff to talk about. NBC, it's a big deal right now. The 2v2 Universal Open. We'll have some details on that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. It'll be fun.
You were perfection, I was the mess. I lacked emotion, you did your best. I was behind you through every step. You lost your way and you fell instead.
Welcome back to Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. Just got done reminiscing about the past, talking about RLCSs of days gone by. And now we're talking about a new thing here. This is all about 3v3. Everything we've talked about like up until this point on this show and for like the last 2 years has been about 3v3, but now there's a 2v2 scene in the house. This is pretty crazy. The NBC Universal Open. We can talk about this tournament and the crazy stuff that's going on here. A 2v2 tournament full of regionals all over the place. Take a look at some of the information that is about this tournament. To say the top 2 teams from each regional earn their spot in the grand finals. There's 2 left to go right now. We just had 2 this past weekend. Now on the 12th and the 13th, the Midwest and the West Regional will move forward. Their top 4 teams from a European Invitational also to happen here this next weekend. We'll move into the grand finals, and you can see there at the end the grand finals taking place on August 26th and 27th. And there are tickets you can get for that if you want to go look for that online. They're not too expensive. They're like $15 or something like that. So live finals for a 2v2 tournament, 100K on the line.
A lot of teams too. We got 16 total teams, 4 from Europe and then 12 from North America. So I don't think a lot of these North American teams probably want to play those high-powered Europeans because it's going to be the cream of the crop at that point. So it should be interesting.
It's crazy though how tight these things have been already, and how there's been teams full of bubble players that most people in the community have never heard of, taking other teams that are full of very, very popular players all the way to the end of the series. And so far, Cloud9 with Squishy and Torment, and then Ambition, which is Wonder and Prime Thunder. We got to see them at DreamHack playing with their 3v3 roster. They have qualified. And then 2 of the laziest names I've ever heard, G2A and G2B. G2 split into 2 teams and then decided just to tack the letters, the alphabet on the end. Come on, guys.
They should have put like G2 Apple and G2 Banana.
Literally anything.
That's true.
Just do G2 and G3 or something, you know? I mean, like, I don't
well, you know, they're trying to rep G2.
G2.1, G2.2.
That's better, I think. Yeah.
I could think of literally anything better than this.
Alpha
That
and
is
beta?
Sure.
But that was without JNaps as well, because he got, like, I think there was a major thunderstorm, then all the...
Yeah, his flight got delayed.
So his flight,
I thought it was snowed in.
there was a snowstorm, like a snow happened in August, and he can't make it. And the crazy thing that happened here was Rizzo then didn't have a teammate, so he just literally puts it out on Twitter like, hey, anybody able to make it? Stev is in the area, a power sub that we've seen on and off in our stages and in our conversations.
KBM player too.
Shows up. KBM wins the whole thing against Kronovi and Jazzo, who's the G2B roster. So some really crazy stories that happened there. We also, you alluded to it earlier, that you're not the most popular dad in Rocket League anymore. Sir Jump On Stuff, his teammate wasn't able to make it either, and so his dad shows up and plays. It was a very heartwarming story, really cool stuff. But so far, guys, it's been a crazy tournament. Got one more weekend to go, and that'll be here on Twitch. I think it's on Face It TV is where you can watch it. And thoughts about the 2v2 scene, guys, because we've been 3v3 up until this point, and this is the biggest 2v2 thing that's like ever happened in Rocket League.
I love competitive 2v2. It's a much different mentality, which is why a lot of times you'll see different players kind of stepping up to fill the role. A lot of people that have the mentality of 3v3s, you don't have a lot of room to slow things down in your head when 3v3. It's always just like immediate reactionary. You're always having to deal with, well, who's going to get this now? Who's going to demo me? Who's going to bump me? Where is everybody? What is this contest going to be like? Almost every ball in 3v3 is some sort of 50-50.
Yeah.
Like 70% of them are like 50-50s. And 2s, not at all. You have a lot more time to bait people into situations, a lot more individual play, which is what makes a lot of fun. Sometimes you get the con of you get a lot of kind of poo goals, as Marky Duda has described them, because one wrong step and it's just an easy tearaway all the way to a net. But you get so many more awesome goals, like Squishies, reset up the ceiling. It's kind of it's popular right now on Reddit. It made it to the front page within like 2 hours.
Many people saying it's the best goal that's been scored in Rocket League.
Yeah, I think Remco was giving it huge praise, just saying like this is like competitively. What makes you want to execute this competitively? Like it's not a safe bet.
Insane, but it's because he has so much time on his hands. Because 2v2 is so wide open. So those mechanical players like Squishy, that like everyone talks about him, and then you see him in a threes game, it's like, oh, he doesn't look that special. Like he looks good, but usually he doesn't have time to shine in those solo plays. So you see it a lot more in 2s. So that's what I like to see there. But 3s is a whole nother dynamic. I do feel like most of the 3s players will be the best in 2s as well. It's just some can only excel in 3s, so they might be kind of falling to the wayside a bit. But 2s is a lot of fun to watch because of that wide open.
Well, we were talking about this earlier about how, like with Dude with the Nose playing on NRG, because he has this light, he's played with players who are good, he's able to shine. And I think there's a lot of players, duos like Matt and Sizz, who are players who are really good in the 2 situation, but just have never been able to find a successful third. They have found a successful third now, but there are other duos out there in Rocket League that we don't know about as much who now have an opportunity to shine because of this.
The other cool things about these tournaments too is it's all regional based. So you are playing because you have to be able to attend the studio of where it's located when you go back for the regionals. So, I mean, players that we've seen in the past, like Pluto's a prime example from the Chicago area, Indianapolis area. even though he may not be able to find a threes team in the easiest way possible, he's still looking out for stuff like that. He can go and find, just one friend to go and compete and perform and put on a pretty good show.
Yep.
Plus, you get to see where all these guys are technically based. I mean, it's really interesting to be having people represent their home area per se.
Yeah.
Kind of like how you see in like a regional setting LAN.
Yep.
But then it all comes down to the end in Santa Ana. So
Yeah, very cool stuff. You'll get to see Pluto play with his teammate Karma in the next one, in the Chicago one. That comes up this weekend, guys. It's going to be really, really cool to see. Cannot wait to see how this NBC 2v2 Universal Open all pans out. But we got one more thing here before we are done in overtime. 50-50, everybody's favorite segment except for Gibbs because he likes trivia, but he's going to have to compete in this one because it's Carpet Show. We're all in his field. That's coming up after the break. See you there.
Welcome to the 50-50, where I get to take two analysts and make them bicker like 12-year-old cringe lords. I've got with me Mr. I Think I'm Important Because I Had a Baby, Gibbs.
What's up, man? How you doing?
And I've got with me, on the other side, Mr. I Don't Like It, So Let's Make a Meme Out of It, Lawler. How's it going, boys? All right, so here's how it's going to work. I'm going to ask these guys a question, and I'm pretty sure they're going to disagree with it, most likely. I probably may have planned it. Might be a little bit scripted. They're going to argue, and I'm going to give an abstract winner who I think won. Maybe the one who yelled the loudest, maybe the one who I thought had the best points. We'll figure it out. But we got a little something special about halfway through. But let's get started right away. Guys, you prepped?
No, not at all.
Not at all. You look prepped. You look at him. He's ready.
Prepped.
He's ready.
It's hard to take down a champion, so you need some prep work.
Well, maybe I like the improv a bit more. We'll see, Gibbs.
We'll see.
First question. What do you guys think? Who's the best European player? What do you got, Gibbs?
Oh, me. I was going to go lower.
Yeah. Boom.
I'm going to go Mr. K-Dop himself, the European MVP from league play. He does it all. On the offensive side, plus on the defensive side, had the second most saves, and also he assists all his players. Also, Fairy Peak, his teammate, didn't have a great season. He had to carry that team a bit, Mockett, and they had a really, really strong season. So I have to go with K-Dop as the best player in Europe right now, and now he's on Gale Force. He's got talent surrounding him. So I think they will be the world champions at the end of the season.
You heard it from the man himself. Lawler, what you got in return?
The best part about that is, you know who was the world champions? Remco. You want to know? He beat K-Dop. He was on top of that because he did the same thing, but just that much better in 2 series. Back to back, he was able to handle the pressure on top and over the top of K-Dop, and that's why Remco's the best. He does what K-Dop does, but even better.
Yeah, but Remco, he's always surrounded by talent. He was surrounded by Devo and Turbo. I feel like maybe a better duo then a Mystic, and a Fairy Peak. And K-Dop, it was within one goal and one game that could have been a world championship for him. So that's why I got K-Dop.
Well, Gibbs is used to carries, right? When he used to play with Kronovi. So
Of course.
He's always got a soft spot for carries.
Exactly.
I mean, but that's the difference, though, is in that situation, guess who didn't make the mistake? Remco. Remco was the one there on both offense and defense, helping his teammates out, just like K-Dop does, but doing it to secure the win under the most pressure. They had to come from behind in that lower bracket. That's a lot of pressure for a player to be able to come out on top and counter it twice to win.
I mean, they lost to a North America team. That's why they had to come back. So they lost to NRG, and they got swept. So I think maybe that's why they had to come back.
They may have lost to NRG, but guess who lost to them twice?
All right. We got plenty more questions, so let's just move on to the next one.
All right.
Who do you guys have pegged right now, currently, as the best North American team? Lawler.
It's hard to argue with consistency. I have to go with NRG. NRG has shown that over 3 seasons they are the best, despite any adversity that they handle. No matter what, at the end of the season, at the end of league play, they have shown that they're the ones on top, and they've done it again in this offseason. Despite the adversity, they've brought in Garrett. He has been able to show that, whether it be at the X Games, whether it be at DreamHack, they always have a top performance. They may not always clutch it, but they do have the performance that backs that they can also be at that top at all times.
Yeah, but DreamHack wasn't really a top performance. They got 5th. And who'd they lose to? Cloud9, and they got swept. Very first land for Cloud9, Squishy Muffins, Gimmick, and Torment, and they come out on top, beating everyone. Sure, Energy finally got their win, but they've been there like 8 times.
Yeah, but
Cloud9's been there once.
Didn't they make sure to make it into league play in the first place?
That is very true, but that doesn't mean anything now because we're going into season 4, and Cloud9 is looking so good. Squishy Muffins, he's finally figured out that I think he's a passer. He's so creative on his shots, and now he's figured out that he can make those passes. And Gimmick, one of the best closers in the game right now. Torment, he's a rock on defense, and I think it'll be upset alert. Cloud9 will win the North American Championship.
I just look at history and the way that it's repeated themselves. I haven't seen Cloud9 give me back-to-back-to-back performance over the course of an extended period of time. We've seen it for maybe a couple weeks. With Energy, we've seen it for 3 seasons.
Times are changing, Lawler. Times are changing. Cloud9's coming out on top this time. They've looked great.
We'll see.
All right, we got a lot of new teams and a lot of new rosters. Roster shuffle madness early this week, right before the signups closed. What do you guys think? Was replacing Maestro with Greasy the right choice? Yes or no, good or bad? Gibbs!
This one's tough. Maestro's my boy. I'm going to say it's a bad move because, sure, Northern Gaming and then Team Envious and all that, they won the World Championship with Turbo, but they were still the best team in Europe before that with Maestro. They were extremely dominant. Sure, they lost to Makin in the playoffs in 7 games, but I think they would have been huge favorites coming in anyway, say they had Maestro. Maestro did have a lot of vacation time and a lot of events missed, so I can see why they would go with Greasy, but Maestro is the only player to win a series where he's the only member to score a goal. They beat Gale Force in a 3-0 sweep. Maestro, the only one to score in that series. I think he's a huge part of that team, and I think it's a mistake that they're going with.
I think that's difficult, though, because if you look at the situation that they're in, where's Maestro been? Exactly like you stated, he's been on vacation, he's been at schooling, he's been doing stuff. He hasn't really been dedicated in the sense because he's taking this downtime. And we've seen time and time again, when you take that downtime in a player, they fall off. We saw him play with the leftovers last week, and it just wasn't the same Maestro that we're used to. They got dominated by a flip side that came in super late. With the addition of Greasy, Greasy has shown that over the past month that he was an answer. He did the same thing for Flipside. He was the one leading the charge, helping that team out win victories. And when you're taking a teammate that he's already been playing with and that he's already familiar with and bringing them back into this situation, it's only going to make their team stronger.
It's so boring.
But plus, there's internal conflict. There's been things going on with this duo that a lot of people don't know about, and I'd rather have them do it now before it's too late, where it creates issues before the season even starts.
Yeah, but Greasy played with Markey and Cooks, and they got 5th place at the World Championships. Sure, Greasy, I think, was doing a little
Greasy
bit.
the issue?
I think part of it was everyone, and I think maybe part of that is Greasy. And at the same time, they still have like 40 days until a Maestro would have to play again. He's got plenty of warm-up time. They're already qualified, so I think Maestro would have been the better
Envious
pickup
has
player.
the leg up because they're already going with someone who's there.
I'm not going to lie. I stopped listening to you guys a good minute and a half ago. You guys started droning on. You guys are probably the quietest 50-50 I've ever seen. Let's see if this 4th question gets any sort of fire riled up in the both of you. Our North American heartthrobs, they've broken. They've been broken slightly. They've lost a 1/3 of the team. Turtle has been replaced with Insolences. Do you think this is good or bad, Lawler?
It is a horrible idea. What is the history of Insolences? It's not good.
What's the history of Rogue this summer?
Oh,
Not good.
Absolutely garbage.
That may be the case, but is Insol really the answer? A guy who, for the first time in like 6 months, has stopped playing Counter-Strike, and he's going to be the answer? They had the same results. Horrible this weekend.
They had 4 overtimes versus Hollywood Hammers. Sure, they lost. It was the first
It's
time they were
Hollywood
playing
Hammers.
with Insolences. The very
A
first
team
time.
that just formed. They just came together, and they had to struggle against that. A team that has been together with Matt and Sis combo that's played more than anybody else, according to this man himself, which is true.
They got second because of a
Damn right it is.
4-way tiebreaker.
Damn right.
They were 2 games away from not even making playoffs, and then they haven't showed up since. They haven't beat a North America team since they beat Denial to make that a top 2 spot for a qualification. They needed to make a move. Now, again, I'm not sure if Insolences is the correct answer, but they definitely had to do something. So I am pretty excited to see how he does. Now, we'll see after like 5 weeks if Insolences gets bored again and doesn't want to play anymore.
And that's
but
what
they
worries
had
me
to make a
because
move.
in history of Insol, he has shown that he creates more problems than he solves. Yes, he is a good player, but imagine what they could do if they just had someone who was willing to sit down and grind and help them out.
But also, Turtle, he's pretty happy about it. He's like, all the pressure is gone. He gets to breathe a
He's
little.
just
So I think
saving face right
overall
now.
for Team
He's
No,
doing the right
like,
thing.
like Turtle seems like he does not like pressure at all. He always wants to play
But
well.
aren't we arguing the fact if Insol was the right answer,
all right.
not
You're
Turtle
both
being happy that he's leaving?
So incredibly boring at this, and I'm actually disappointed. So I'm gonna have to spice things up. All right. Clearly, you guys just can't do it on your own. You're not gonna argue. You're not gonna bicker. You're not gonna yell. You're too civil.
Sorry for being respectful.
I'm
to
pretty
kids.
sure
civil.
we're arguing here. It's just we don't throw around tables like
There's
Quinn
nothing
does.
fun about that. I want to see fire. So we're gonna
Should
do
we just
something
gang up
different.
on him? Like-
We're gonna do something a little bit
beard.
different. It's gonna be some quick fire stuff. All right. This is gonna be the lightning round. This is what we're gonna do for you guys. All right. This is the lightning round. I'm just gonna rattle off questions. You guys give me your answer. That's it. It's 2 answers. You either give one or the other. I'm giving you 2 options. You got it?
Sure.
Ready?
Okay.
20XX or Slipstream?
20XX.
Slipstream.
That took too long, Gibbs. Batmobile or DeLorean?
Batmobile.
Batmobile, like that's garbage. DeLorean.
No offense, Shogun, but why?
DeLorean is garbage.
DeLorean. You know what? I'm not part of this. I'm gonna stay quiet. Favorite paint texture?
Digital, because it's new and it's fun.
The
Because it's new and
the
it's
new
fun.
blocky one, gloss, whatever it is. I don't
He
know what
doesn't
it is.
even know,
Didn't even know the name of
It
it.
looks cool.
You pretty much lost it for that. Favorite export car?
Favorite? Oh, you mean import?
Import
car?
car. Import car. Sorry.
The Octane ZSR because it's close to the Octane.
Octane ZSR.
Look at you fanboys. Bananas or oranges?
Oranges because halftime soccer games, orange slices. Best thing ever.
Bananas because potassium is awesome.
Orange juice though.
Treadmills or ellipticals? You don't work out, do you
I'm
guys?
gonna go
Come on, guys.
ellipticals because it's less work on your knees.
It's technically better for your joints.
Yeah.
Treadmill because why not?
To go or delivery?
Delivery.
To go because I'm not lazy like Lawler.
You're still getting to go.
You don't
Yeah,
even
but I'm going out and actually getting out of the house instead of sitting in
What's
front of my
the point? You know,
computer
again, I
for
should-
24
I
hours.
If I
today.
want food, just bring it to me.
I shouldn't be a part of this. Who's cuter, Remco or Maestro?
Maestro.
Maestro.
Move on. Go.
Easy. Easy.
No, that's probably unfair. And what is your favorite standard Rocket League map?
The new Champions Stadium. Champions Field is gorgeous.
Wasteland and Starbase. I don't like standard.
Oh, wow. What did you just start that? Wasteland?
Wasteland and Starbase are better than every standard map in the game. Simple.
I don't know how offended one person can get.
If I have to choose a standard, I'll go Snowtopia because it's
Never
beautiful.
been so offended in my life.
Dude, there's non-standard maps because of Cosmic because we kept saying we wanted them.
Neo
Maybe it didn't
Tokyo.
really work out, but
Neo Tokyo was the dream.
Non-standard. Neo
And-
Tokyo was fun.
And my
it was really
heart
fun.
is broken.
no.
It was
Bring it
the
back,
dream.
please. You said non-standard, not standard. I totally heard that wrong.
Standard.
No,
I said
you never
standard.
said standard.
So
I
you-
I
just
said
changed
standard.
it.
Gibbs just didn't care.
Yeah,
All right, so
I don't
I'm not
care.
going to lie. You both lost. I cannot give a winner. That had to be the blandest 50-50 I've had so far. So
Because we're civil. Me and
So
Laura
civil.
are gentlemen.
maybe I've been desensitized because of Quinn, and he's just always screaming, and I can see a little bit of murder in his eyes every time he gets excited. It's a little horrifying.
It is.
So
You know, that's gonna be
you're
it.
afraid that's why.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, let me know what you guys think. I mean, hashtag Team Lawler, I guess. Hashtag Team Gibbs. You can tweet it out at us. You can tweet it out at RLCS. You can put it there in chat. Let us know what you think. But that's going to be it for overtime. This is the last segment. Sorry to put you on a snoozer for the end of this one. It's just, what is.
Excuse me, Carpet. I think it was
What,
a
Gibbs?
well-done production.
Would you rather it
Yep.
be your trivia segment where no one can get your answers
Yeah,
right?
because you guys are all dumb.
Oh, there it is.
Do I win after that?
The
I'm
fighting
pretty
words.
sure you won because I said non-standard's better, so that's all right.
To be fair, he couldn't even think of a paint name.
Sure.
I can't tell it was any worse. All right, but that's going to be it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, if you enjoyed it, you can tune in next week, same exact time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, right here, twitch.tv/Rocket League. But until then, See you next time, guys.